and welcome back to another episode of The Connector. I am your connector, Ariel Levitt, and I am here to connect you to people that are doing amazing, trailblazing things, that want to be connected with you, that want to help you, that want to mentor you a little bit, that want to show you how they have been successful in business and share tips and tricks and trades and all the things. So this week I get to bring on a guest, Mark Silver, and he has figured out the best way to do business, and that is with a open, loving heart. And so we're going to get into this conversation. Welcome, Mark. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So we started talking, and I just loved what your whole mission is about and who you are. And you it's just connection. That's literally what it is. And so let's talk about that. How did you kind of discover this? How did you start leading with this? Because you've been an entrepreneur your whole life, I believe. So,
well, yeah, I mean, with some gaps, but yes.
Okay.
I grew up in business. My parents were in business. My grandfather was in business. And then I hated business, was an activist and did other things. I was a paramedic for a while and before I came back. And, it's so interesting because I had learned more about business than I thought I had way back. I've been doing this for 23 years. And so back at the very beginning, I knew more than I thought I did about business. And I was helping friends who were self-employed, or an organic gardener and, a healer and someone who was making their own lotions and, body care products, things like that. And I just knew more than I thought I did about marketing and about how to make a business work. And everybody, as no matter how good they were at what they actually did, they had upset about business. They had upset about like how to charge and how to talk about what they did and about all of these things that you have to do to make the business work. And I was realizing I really needed to help people emotionally. Like it wasn't just about like, oh, how do you do this X, Y, Z, but what's the emotional? And for me too, I had my own issues too. It's like, it's hard. Like I was an activist for years. I see a lot of, like the world of business has been toxic for our planet and our communities and so much. And so we really need to come into a different alignment. And so there was an intersection that happened between learning Sufi-based spiritual healing work and the business work. And that's where it really lit up. I was learning how to connect to my own heart, how to connect to the source of love, how to really surrender and be connected in a very profound way, healing all kinds of, we all have so much stuff that we carry from this life of ours. And then I started helping my clients in the same way, and it started having profound impacts. And I started to see where certain spiritual healing principles, structures, approaches mirrored things like exterior structures in business. I'm like, oh, this is the deeper side of how business works. This is the deeper side of where we can find the love inside of business. And that's, that was really the start of Heart of Business way back in 2001.
So you mentioned this word Sufi. Sufi?
Yes.
So
yes.
I was like, oh, what is that? And I'm sure a lot of I can't even talk right now. A lot of these days, like the word just won't come out. A lot of listeners are probably like, what is that word also? Like, what is that?
Yeah. So if you've heard of the poet Rumi and Hafiz, the best-selling poets in America for a long time, though they're Sufis. It's the mystical practice from the religion of Islam, and so it concerns itself, like any mystical path, with how do we connect directly? How do we presence that? How do we stay connected to that in our daily lives, in our everyday tasks? How do we know the love and see the love and carry it in every moment, even when things are really difficult?
How do you?
Do you have 20 years?
Spark Notes version?
Yeah. So it's simple and profound, and it takes practice. So the core practice that I work with, that my teachers taught me, is the practice of remembrance. And it's quite simply that. It's a remembering. It's remembering a larger reality. And the practice of it is calling the name of the divine, a name of the divine, into your heart. And what that does is it has this effect on the heart and on our it's like calling somebody's name. Like if I get so fixated on doing something and I'm like, hold it, Ariel, oh, she's right here. Like like you remember that there's another presence available. If you're in a movie theater and you're in the front row, and the screen is like this and you're totally immersed in the experience of the movie, which is what happens in our daily lives. We get totally immersed in the daily activities of our life. But when we remember, it's like, oh, you know what? I'm in a movie theater. Like the picture is important, but there's a bigger reality around me. And there's an exit, and there's an even larger reality. Like there's more accessible to us. And so by remembering that, it gives us access to that in our hearts, to that resilience, to that spaciousness, to the love. And it's profound. It sounds very simple, and it is. It's not easy, like a lot of these things. There's an ease to it, but it takes a willingness to lean into discomfort to find the love that's available in it.
I love how you lead with love, because love is like love is the highest vibration, right? It's literally the highest. Like I know joy, gratitude, all of those, but love is the highest. I can't remember the megahertz or whatever it is right now, but you probably know right off the bat, right? No?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so there's a lot of different systems and different ways that different paths have looked at these things. From a Sufi point of view, we would say that the divine oneness, the oneness. And when I say the divine, I don't mean a beard in the sky. I mean the oneness that we're all a part of and that no one is separate from. And the Sufis talk about, there are qualities associated that these divine qualities. And love is one of the qualities. There's love, there's compassion, there's strength, there's wisdom, there's a list, there's 99 of them or more of them. And we wouldn't say that any one of those is higher than any other. We would say that they're all needed in order to completely know the oneness. We go through periods of knowing, it's like there's all of these qualities are necessary in our journey. And we talk about love. Love is certainly, it's certainly not less than, it's right, it's as important. But in the way that I work with it, and I know there are other paths and people talk about it in different ways, and that's beautiful. We know there's a lot of different ways to approach this, and as long as it works for you, then that's beautiful. And the way that I work with it is that there's not a primacy necessarily to love in particular over other divine qualities. Any one of them can connect you and bring you back to the oneness, back to the presence that we're hoping to remember and carry.
I love that you keep talking about bringing us back to the oneness, because we all are one, right? We're all energetic beings having a human experience.
Yes.
And it's so important, because it's so easy to get caught up in all the other stuff and all that other the stuff that comes with business, especially,
Oh my God, yeah.
Those levels, like the video game levels that we're all playing.
Yes, exactly.
And then we get separated from that spiritual side, and we become into the ego side of things. And when we sit there, it's just not, it's not healthy. It is. And you do notice like business just also like fails when people are in that ego, or it's just not like, it has a very different vibration.
It does. Now, it's so interesting because people can be quote unquote successful at business without being spiritual. There's a lot of people who have, um, taken, stolen, made a lot of money through exploitation, through unethical practices. It's like you can have that kind of surface level success, but it's not. It's true. It's not satisfying, and it's not healthy, and you inevitably create harm when you do that. It's like, how else do you become a billionaire other than by exploiting many, many, many people and not paying them, what they should be getting paid. And so there's it's so important to remember, and it's not really even about bringing love into business or bringing the divine into business. It's about remembering that it's there instead of paving over it. It's already present. It's just that it's an area of our life that our culture has attempted to ignore or turn away from, or say like, oh, love doesn't have a place in business. It's got to be quote unquote professional, or it has to be, all business. You can't have personal. And then you start to see the kinds of things that we start to see in our society, in our culture, where, people have billions and other people are homeless, where we see people struggling under incredible debt while others are living incredibly opulent lives. It's not that everyone should have exactly the same, like that doesn't make any sense. That's not in nature and it's not in the world. But the spiritual principle that I operate under is that if we receive more, if we get more, it's because we're being asked to carry the divine quality of generosity and learn how to share that with those who have less. And so bringing love into business is not about, like, of course you can be profitable, and of course you can make the business run, and of course you can, there's all of these things that you do need to pay attention to. But if you're doing it by harming others or by forgetting what we're really here for, it's not, the piper will have its due eventually. It's going to come back around to you eventually.
Well, I was going to say also it probably feels empty, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a cliche, right? That we hear over and over again, is the middle-aged person who's been successful in their career, and they're like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Is this really what I want my life to be about? That kind of an awakening. But we don't have to wait until that empty feeling. Like, we can have that awakening whenever we choose to awake, whenever we want to engage with that.
So how do you what would you say to somebody to have that a little bit, to have that, start to have that awakening?
So I would say that I would start with the remembrance. I would start with just, start with the easy path, the low hanging fruit. If you can spend time in nature, if you can spend time with people that you care about, if you can learn to put on the brakes a little bit and just stop and pause even in the middle of the day for a few moments. These are not radical things I'm saying. Lots of people are suggesting this. It's because they work. It's like creating that little bit of spaciousness when you're not doing all the time. Even when you're really busy, even when it feels like you can't, to be able to take a breath and to slow down and to disengage from this unhealthy, overproductive culture just for a few moments enables us to have more connection with our own heart, with the realities that we're feeling, with our emotions. And that enables us to connect more with the love that's available. It enables us to have more spaciousness to connect with others in a real way. It keeps us from skating on the surface. So just starting that process is a big one. To do it even in more practical sense is that if there's an aspect of your business that you're feeling stressed out by, we always talk about, like, okay, can you come into relationship, into connection with that aspect of your business? Let's say marketing feels terrible to you. Can you just sit with the marketing? and let the agitation or the grief or the upset rise up. And can you ask the question, is love available even here? Is the divine present even here? And just sit and just ask and just wonder, just be curious. And it can start to create some real openings, some real curiosity, some real like, I wonder.
Sometimes what I do is, I love that question that you just asked. And sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed or underwhelmed, right? Like I'm just also like, there's got to be more, or there's got to be something else. Like this is just not fulfilling me enough, or whatever it is. Maybe the day, the time, the season, the month, the whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And I ask this question and I say, like God or universe or whatever, how can I serve today? How can use me to serve? How can I be of service today? And usually something pops into like very, very quickly, almost instantly, of like a phone call will happen, something or inspirational thought will come where I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do this, this, and this, or whatever it may be to help guide me and just and serve, right, and have purpose, because we're all here to have purpose in this universe. We all have a purpose of some sort.
I love that. That was another piece that I wanted to bring in, and you brought it in beautifully about, if we're here to help, if we're here to be of service, that is really what our heart is here for. We're most fulfilled when we're in service, when we're surrendered, when we're helping. And that just creates an incredible beauty. Let me give an example, like in the world of marketing. So most marketers will talk about, you need to talk about the problem and in order to, market and engage people. And to do that, most people will like name a problem in a way that agitates people, triggers trauma or triggers some kind of reaction. And then the marketing continues to kind of lean into that reaction so that the only way to get relief is to purchase. Like that's like the model for most marketing and sales in our culture, is built on this very kind of re-traumatizing, emotionally manipulative structure. However, what's also true is that our hearts deeply want to be seen. Like there's an innate human desire and need to be witnessed. And if we can make our marketing so that we are witnessing someone in their distress, but not seeing them as broken, and taking the time in our marketing to not create further agitation, like so that they can actually feel witnessed and seen and cared about, it enables them to take a breath. It enables them to actually feel calmer. It enables them to actually open up a space and see, is what they're offering resonant? And instead of feeling pressured to purchase, instead there's a little mini healing that can happen in that witnessing. And I'm not overstating that. Like this is something we've seen with our clients over the years as they put this kind of marketing into practice. And then someone will take a breath and they'll go, and then they can make a choice, a true choice from their heart, from their own knowingness. Is this really relevant for me? And if they say yes, it's not because they were in reaction. So you're not going to see the refunds and the upset. And if they say no, then that's a healthy adult choice, and they can move on, and they're still going to have good feelings about you because you weren't agitating and pressuring them.
Yeah. It's so fascinating. I love marketing, right? Marketing is human, I don't even know, human nature at its finest. I know we are fascinating beings, and the whole psychology that goes behind marketing, and like, just like you were saying, like having a business and upselling people or selling people in general. And like, how are you selling them? How are you selling to them? Are you selling them out of fear? Are you going to sell them out of love? Really is what you're kind of coming at, right?
Yes.
And it's a very different, like you said, it's a very different, return on investment, like for both parties. They're going to succeed a lot further And then you're not gonna have to refund so much, which is fantastic. Right. Who wants to give refunds?
Like, nobody wants to give refunds, and you want people that even if they don't want your offer because it's not right for them, to have good feelings about you and be able, like I've gotten referrals from people who've never purchased from us because they had a good interaction with us. They didn't feel like we were gross, and they're like, oh wow, that offer wasn't what I needed, but they see somebody else and they're happy to send referrals. This kind of support for we talk about how the most powerful kind of marketing is relationship marketing. And what is relationship based in but love, right? What is connection based in but love? It's like that's at the heart of everything. And so in terms of these kinds of relationships. And so if you have love and care at the heart of it in very practical ways, you still need to pay attention to the details. If you only have an inspirational message and you're not willing to witness people where they might be struggling with empathy, they probably won't respond. We haven't seen people respond very strongly to just inspirational messages, but but you can still do it with love and care and without doing harm.
Yeah. So fascinating. I love breaking this down, and I love how you are really on a mission to share business with love. I mean, this is your purpose, and you're being here in this world and to teach others. And I know there's some times where you can get frustrated, right? Like we all have those moments. I'm sure you have those moments.
Oh, sure. Yeah. We're all human. Absolutely.
And it really is a whole mindset, right? And how to rewire your brain in a way so do you constantly look for gratitude? Are you constantly, do you have your own practice? How does this, because I know it's easier said than done, especially when you get into your day-to-day, things where you're like, nothing's going my way and this is happening and and I want to leave it love and I love what I do and all this stuff. But, so how do you kind of switch out of that brain?
So the thing that I love about the practice of remembrance is that it is about return. It's not about not falling out of it, but it's about how easily do you come back, right? Because we're all human. Like as long as we're in body, we're going to have emotions. We get angry, we get sad, we get, it's like, and that's we get scared. Like that's normal. That's healthy. We're supposed to. We wouldn't be human if we weren't. But as a Sufi Muslim, I have my practices. I have my daily prayers. I have my, the practice that I do in the morning and during the day. And one of the things that we're always supporting our clients, whatever path, some have religion, some don't have a religion. They have a different kind of path. They're just a spirit. No, sometimes not at all. And they're just wanting to connect in their hearts. We're always encouraging people to take on regular spiritual practice of some kind, because what that does is it creates, you talked about rewiring. It's like rewiring, like, I live here in Pennsylvania. We had some snow recently, and it's like, you have to clear the path to get the car out. If you clear the path in your heart so that you can return to your heart and you do it regularly, then when you get upset, I come back very quickly. You come back very quickly. Like when I was young, I could be upset for days or weeks, or sometimes carry things for months or even years, like certain pains. But now, my reaction time tends to be minutes or seconds in terms of how quickly I can come back to my heart. And, even my wife and I, we've been together for 30 years now, and it's, we get upset. Of course, we get upset at each other, or I get upset at one of my sons. And we come back so quickly. Like it doesn't stick in the same way, not because I'm so special, but because I've done the practices. I've gotten out the shovel or the snowblower, I've cleared those paths back to my heart with regular practice. And it ends up being so much more efficient than just being upset or agitated for hours or days or weeks.
I love that example you just used of the snowblower. I think that's a very easy visual. And it's so true, because there's all these things that happen during the day, or that, you know, a conversation that like puts that snow back there. Right. And then you have to really clear the path. And, that was such a great analogy. I've never heard that one. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so.
I was just using the snowblower and it popped in. You know, there's the more traditional analogy that the Sufis use is back when mirrors used to be polished metal. They weren't silvered glass. You know, it was just a highly polished piece of metal. Is that you need to polish the metal regularly. Otherwise, it becomes tarnished and then eventually becomes rusty. If you do it regularly, it's super easy. You know, you keep it up. But if you let it go for a long time, it gets really, and then it takes a lot of hard work to clear the surface of the mirror. And what we want our hearts and our beings to reflect the reality around us as clearly, as truly as possible, and not being kind of like have like some kind of mess overlaid over the reality that we're seeing.
I love that. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Injured in a car accident, on the job, or just playing a game of pickleball? MedAmerica is the #1 clinic in physical therapy, occupational therapy, and chiropractic needs, specializing in sports, post-surgical, and orthopedic conditions. Located in Deerfield Beach, MedAmerica is here to help you get back feeling better than you did before. Visit their website at medamericarehab.com. That's Med, M-E-D, America, A-M-E-R-I-C-A, rehab, REHAB.com. Mention the connector to receive 10% off any self-pay service. Today's podcast is sponsored by Pod Populi. Have you ever thought of starting a podcast? Not sure where to start? Pod Populi makes it easy. With over 20 podcast studio locations nationwide, they host over 100 podcasts. Pod Populi is a full-service podcasting studio with video and audio production. They help you put your idea into the best podcast. Visit podpopuli.com to book your time to talk to an expert on getting started. That's pod, PODPOPULI.com, and mention The Connector for 10% off your first year.
Okay, we're back. Back to all of this is juiciness. This is so good. Such good information. And it's something that I think we all struggle with, right? Like that path that gets blocked, and which is fun. This is the fun of being human. This is the joys that we get to do, is try to like clear that path with a snowblower, right? And we might use the same one, but we also need help sometimes. And that's where we get to like come to you or come to mentors, leaders, coaches that can help us and use those tools to clear the path. And that's what you do so beautifully. So I know you have written a book that has helped people and continues to help people clear that path and have a successful, loving business. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about your book.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's titled Heart-Centered Business: Healing from Small Business, Healing from Toxic Business Culture, so your small business can thrive. And it's really about that journey. I start out the book by saying, if you have issues with business, I don't want you to get over them. That there's wisdom in our reactions, but I don't want you to be trapped by your reactions either. I want you to be able to find a deeper truth that honors that, things are messed up out there. Things are, our culture is really dysfunctional. And at the same time, we can find our way through, together, collectively, and individually. We can find a way through that has way more love and way more health in it. And so there's this combination in the book of starting out trying to heal the relationship, supporting the healing of the relationship with business itself and with your business in particular. And then it goes into the nitty-gritty pieces of like, what are the stages of development and how do we have a healthy relationship with marketing and with productivity and other aspects of how you actually get things done.
So you must have had an experience or something that triggered this, because I mean, I'm just going off of a hunch or so. I don't know. I didn't get to read the book, but I love the book of what it's about. But, I'm just thinking because for you to have had such a deep connection with this and wanting to help others, right? We get inspiration from things that have happened to us to help others. And so what was that moment, or what was that you were like, I need to make sure this doesn't happen to other people, and I want them to succeed, and I want them to lead with love in business?
Yeah. Quite frankly, I became politically active as a teenager in the DC punk scene in the 1980s. And, Rock Against Reagan, and, out in the streets and protesting apartheid South Africa, and a lot of things. And I saw at the heart of a lot of these dysfunctions and terrors and evils that were being perpetrated was the pursuit of profit. Okay, so it doesn't matter that it doesn't matter that this oil tanker leaked, thousands and thousands of barrels of oil into what had been a healthy habitat, because it's making us money, and it's okay. And it doesn't matter that people are left homeless. It's like we're making money. And so I became very bitter to the world of business. And the more that I studied it, when I studied the history of capitalism, and I studied the history of, this economy, especially this predatory capitalism that has been active for the last few hundred years, 300-400 years, 500 years, it's responsible. That's where slavery was capitalism. It's like at the heart of it. And so, I care so deeply, and my heart was so deeply hurt seeing, just how terrible things were. I was a paramedic in Oakland, California, for a long time, and there are huge swaths of Oakland, at least at the time that I was working there, no grocery stores. But you go into the wealthier, these are the poor neighborhoods. You go into the rich neighborhoods, and there's plenty of fresh food that you could get. And so seeing this over and over and over and over again, people without health care, et cetera. And I just was like, this is terrible. This is evil. We do not have to live like this. We don't have to have such a broken system where only a few people benefit and so many other people are in pain. And so I wanted to support so many people who wanted to be self-employed and wanted to have small businesses, because there was no other way they were going to have their gifts be out in the world. There are no jobs. Nobody was hiring for, kind of healer or chiropractor or, organic gardener, or all the many, many, many different kinds. And even people where there were jobs, the companies that were available to hire them were not companies they wanted to work for. They wanted to be way more in integrity. So when I embarked on the healing journey, especially after I burnt out on just being angry and reactive, I started to find okay, I can find a path of love here, path of love and action. I can be engaged with the world, and I can help people in the way that I can help people. And I don't have to live in anger and reaction all the time, which was, burning me out in horrible ways. And so, that's really where this emerged from, is that there's healing needed in our culture in many different areas, and business is one of them. And that's, where that's the piece that I've been picking up.
Well, I love that you found a problem, right? You found the problem, and you have now come up with a solution. And that's the most successful people that are in business. Those are the ones that truly want to fix a problem and solve the problem and see the need, and then have a solution for it. Not the ones that are here's the solution. You guys are, I'm going to find you need, and let me create a problem. Here's the solution. Let me create the problem, and then work on business. But you were really,
right.
You're doing it in the way that is truly with purpose. And,
right.
which is fantastic and amazing. And I love that you were so ahead of your time too. I mean, you're like this. I mean, I guess also like when I say ahead of your time is like more people are talking about this now in business. I don't know. This wasn't really talked about this way.
It wasn't talked about much at all. There were some for sure, but that I was learning from too. But it's like there's been it's become so much more widespread, thankfully, and and it's beautiful to see that both this intersection that I like to sit in between social justice and business and spirituality, connection to love, and those three things when they come together, I feel like gives us a chance to craft a world that really serves everybody, that where everyone can thrive, where we don't leave anybody out.
So amazing. It's beautiful. I love what you're doing. And I love how you are just so like, just easy to talk to. And your mission in your book and everything and who you are is just, you're like, come with me guys, let's do this. Let's go on this journey together. And it's so beautiful. And so,
thank you.
So where can everybody connect with you and stay connected with you and find you?
The easiest thing is our website, heartofbusiness.com. And, get on our email list and just see if what we're doing really sticks and resonates. Check us out, and then, of course, the book, I'd love for the book to get into as many hands as possible. And that's it's a book, it's not a big investment. And so it's really lessons from 23 years. I just came out this last October. And so there's a depth of experience that comes from the thousands of business owners that we've worked with over the years. And I just, I'd love for people to have that wisdom available to them.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy I got to talk to you today. So many good nuggets in here. And, it's nice and refreshing. And I talk about, energy connection, right? That once you find people, you find your tribe, right? A little bit. Like, of course we would connect because we both have very, very similar viewpoints on business and how to do business with love and same feeling of this. And I always think like people are like, oh my gosh, I hope I find the right people, or I hope I find the right tribe, right? Or connection. And it's just continuing to lead with that, which I'm sure you, constantly this is
yes. Absolutely. Yeah. There are so many people. I mean, it's one of the things that I feel, really grateful for the internet and for the ways that we can connect with each other. When I was a teen or young adult, the internet didn't exist yet, Gen X here representing. And and it wasn't easy. It wasn't as easy to find people that I really jived with. I did, of course, but it was harder, and it was harder to reach an audience, and it was harder to just have the business connect. And now there's just it's so much easier to reach people that you really are in alignment with, that you can be yourself, you can be your weird self, you can be out there. It's like I started this business as doing Sufi Islamic healing in business, the day after 9/11. Good timing.
Oh my gosh, I did it.
Good.
What?
Good timing.
Yeah.
And so, right into like the biggest wellspring of Islamophobia that we'd seen. And so it's, and our business has thrived over the last couple of decades, and you can find your people, and I'm saying our people are like, there's a minority of our clients that are actually Muslim or Sufi. We have people from all different paths, but everyone shares this desire to be ethical and to be moral and to care and to lead with love and to want to bring their gifts out in the world, and they need to make their business work. And whatever business you have or whatever you're carrying in your heart, there are people out there that you can connect with.
I love that. So guys, if you find that Mark is your people, which I can tell you, I'm like, yes, you're one of my people. We're in this. I sign up for the mailing list, you guys. It's so good. It's so good. Information nuggets and all the things, and to be connected to like-minded individuals, and it's so important. It nourishes us more than, like I say, food or water. Even though we obviously need those to survive, and it does nourish us in food and water, but connection and connection with others that are like-minded feeds us and lights this fire in us that allows us to just be even bigger, brighter light beings on this world. And so I'm so grateful that we are connected now.
Me too. Thank you so much. And thank you for your presence and how you hold space. It's just beautiful. It creates such an opening and an ease for me. And I just have a deep appreciation for you for that.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Mark, I really appreciate it. And I hope to talk to you soon again, because this is just such good information, and everybody needs to, we all need to just continue to sit in this love, right? This is where we all really need to be all the time, because this is it's ease. It's ease. Thank you. Thank you so much. Awesome, guys. All right. I look forward to seeing you all next week for a whole new episode. But before we go, if you can subscribe, write a review, do all the things for the podcast. And if there's something in this episode that you thought, hey, a friend should listen to also, or I just want to share this episode with a friend, share it, send it to them, or post it online, tag us on Instagram, all the things. Or if you read Mark's book, which you should, send it, tag us in it, and let us know all the thoughts and all the things. So we will see you all next week for a whole new episode.